But wait, there's more. For everyone who signs up for the California Grid Down Survival course, we will bring them into the Civilian Protector Project. So you'll get access to the Civilian Protector Project via the Protector Nation. That is a library at this present time of over 70 hours of personal protection and emergency management, disaster preparedness content. That is a library taught by over 24 of the world's most elite instructors on various different subject matters. Everything from situational awareness to unboxing your first firearm, to dry firing at home, to blade work, to medical. It's all in the Civilian Protector Project, and I'm so excited and honored to bring you guys in, everyone who joins the California Grid Down Survival Training course. So look forward to that. And by the way, I'm going to continue building that library. This is only just the beginning. So with your sign up, with what you're paying for the California Grid Down Survival course, you will also get access to the Civilian Protector Project. I look forward to seeing you guys inside the Civilian Protector Project social media platform here shortly, and training with you for this upcoming California Grid Down Survival course. Let's go. Boom.
Boom. What's up, you guys? ByronRodgers here with Thomas Coyne. We're about to bring you guys something the world has never seen before, but something that's so timely. It's so on time. It's so important. And I couldn't think of a better person to be joining forces with on this operation than the Thomas Coyne. So, hey, how you holding up, sir? It's an honor.
Very good. Pleasure to be here. Love, after I saw the way you run your events at the Protector Symposium, super stoked to be working with you and your team again. Very much so.
Thank you so much. That means a whole lot. I can't wait to get to the next one of those. And likewise, man, training with you out here in California has been awesome. And just knowing you and the different things that we've done, it's been world class, man. And so I'm always super honored when guys like yourself want to join forces and we can bring something to the world that honestly just hasn't been done and serve people in the highest ways we can come up with, man. So this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. This is going to be a very special course. And every once in a while, we do events that it would be very, very hard to get outside of the military and not just in the military, outside of us being in a very specialized role in the military.
Yep.
So this kind of thing is not widely available. You would have to take a lot of different courses and kind of try and put it together yourself. I think it's going to be something special. And I think it's going to put together, a lot of people are training for a lot of things, right? Be it home defense or protecting their neighborhood or whatever. I think this training is going to put it all together for a lot of people, all together, and make them feel more confident in capabilities.
100%. And have more peace of mind, because the scenario we're going to be training for is a bad scenario that has already happened over the past few years in multiple states.
Constantly happening. Yeah.
It is constantly happening. And then also it's kind of the big thing, one of the big things that we're planning for. And and the type of training we're going to do with this course is going to touch multiple different types of situations that you could be dealing with. So, whether it is social unrest, whether it is, a grid down scenario, no matter what, whether it is the EMP, whether it is any of those types of situations where you do have to displace and go into nature, this course is going to serve you in those types of situations. So send it.
Yeah, you don't want to wind up at a Red Cross shelter, in a gym filled with 500 cots with everybody's screaming kids and crying husbands and wives, people that 1,000 people that just lost everything, and they're standing in line for everything they need, a little mac and cheese and some toilet paper, whatever. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. And a lot of people don't know this, but there are rules around using national forest land for this kind of thing that make it available. And here's the thing: California is 48% federal land, most of that being U.S. Forest Service. And with Forest Service land, unless marked otherwise, you can disperse camp anywhere. People think you have to be in a campsite. No, you could pull off park in a turnout. As long as it's not marked, you can't be there. You can bug out to any beautiful flat spot out there. Now you have a 14-day limit that gets thrown out in the case of a national emergency. right? So national emergency, the land is more accessible and you can stay longer and do more things on it. So we want you to be able to take advantage of that in California. Stop watching the YouTubers that just recycle content and don't know what they're talking about. Get real information here.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And honestly, and I do a lot of digital training. This is the type of course you need to go and do. Like with the course that I just did with you guys, man, like so much of the value. We're going to tell you guys what the course is here in a minute. Don't worry. But with the course that I just went and did with you guys out here up at Big Bear, like so much of the value was being able to go out there and build a shelter and actually experience that shelter and make fire and learn how to purify water, like with your hands actually doing it. So, you know,
and having an instructor that really cares, an instructor that wants, that is their sole goal is to make you successful. It's not just to hey, I'm the guy, whatever, we'll get through this. We are there to make you successful. And there are tons of people, you'll hear it all the time in forums and posted online on YouTube channels will say, oh, you can learn everything you need for survival online. You don't need to go to these classes. You maybe the other classes, but my class will put you light years ahead of these people. Most people, my first survival shelter that I ever made by myself was terrible. It was not going to stop wind, rain, it's falling over. It took me years to get my first bow drill fire. My first traps when I'm trying to figure them out were terrible, right? But we get people, the first shelter they ever make will hold up to 70-mile-an-hour winds, it'll hold up to rain, it'll hold up to snow. They're gathering their own materials for a friction fire, which is wildly rare. We've had people make their first trap and get squirrels and whatnot, all this stuff. Just a pocket knife, a few sticks, a piece of string, and a rapper. We will put you light years ahead. And they say a wise man learns from a fool learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from the others.
Yeah.
Right? So being able to skip that process of failure, learn that could take months to years and just get it right the first time on the most essential skill sets, because we don't let you walk away until you're successful.
Yep.
You don't get to leave that until it's perfect and we know it can be seen. That shelter's not done until we know it's weatherproof. It doesn't matter if the whole class has to move on. You're staying there and doing it. So we will make you successful, right? And there is some very, very, very much something to be said for that. And that level of training is very hard to get outside of the military because most people are just collecting your fees.
Yep, collecting your fees. That's exactly what a lot of training has turned into. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to announce that me and Thomas Coyne are rolling out the first California Grid Down Survival course, right? So this course is going to be all about what to do in the face of a catastrophe that requires that you move yourself, your family, and hopefully you have a group of people as well, but that you have to displace, right? So how can you survive in the backcountry of California if you're on the move, right? And we've covered a number of different considerations that go into an operation like that in this course. This is obviously the terrain in California, the skills you'll learn here at this course will be applicable to you in many different climates and locations. But for California, what if something happens that like the grid down that happened in Texas? Or what if we experience social unrest in your area? What if these things happen? And this is a point of preparation. And so I'm excited to roll this thing out, and I couldn't think of anyone, like I said, better to roll this out with than Thomas Coyne and his survival school. So we're super excited. We're going to talk a little bit about who Thomas is, a little bit of his background, his experience, his capabilities. We'll get a little bit more into the course. You'll get a value from this conversation. But if you are interested in being among the first to sign up for this course is going to sign out. We've already tested it. We put out a Google form. We got 20-some signups already on the form. We can only take max 30 people. So by the time you're watching this, there's going to be probably some spots left, right? But make sure that you get in there, get your slot. We're going to have early bird pricing. We're going to have the total pricing. So go straight to, it'll be housed at protectornation.com and on Thomas Coyne. What was your website again?
casurvivaltraining.com, or just spell out californiasurvivaltraining.com. They'll both bring you to the website.
Awesome. And on his website as well, so you guys can take advantage of these things, californiasurvivaltraining.com. But California Grid Down Survival course is coming. So yeah, man, what are your initial thoughts? And then we'll get into a little background. What are you excited about for this course?
I like being able to deliver a skill set at a really high level. And I like to put together this kind of thing. I kind of got forced into teaching the tactical stuff, right? Yeah. I always, the tactical community views survival and fieldcraft as a tactical skill, right? Yes. I learned that after teaching for at the Mountain Warfare Training Center up in Bridgeport for the Marines, for Naval Warfare and their bases, right? Yeah. So, oh wow, these guys really view this as a tactical set. 100%. And then you make friends with these guys, and they want to teach with you, they want to work with you, and I'm like, well, how can we do it? So then, we are in introduction. Basically, we had a course. There was an introduction to armoring, where you learn to take apart and put together multiple variants of just about every platform of firearm, and then go down a line and shoot them. We have a civilian SEER course now, which originally was only done privately for basically international VIPs. Now we have public. And I've developed all kinds of skill sets that I don't throw out there over my time as well. So being able to put this kind of thing together, put the things I've been personally training for a long time, and put it together in this unique way that no one else really is. Right. I like special, I like new, right? And I like empowering. So I'm just everything. I'm long-winded as well. So,
no, I love it. Yeah. And I'm stoked too, because, it's a beautiful fusion between the hard skills and also survival skills, right? All of which really being fieldcraft and hard skills, but there's a differentiation of information that you're going to get with this course. So when you're looking at training with us, you're going to be dealing with, motorcade operations. It's basically, if you think of what it would take to survive in the state of California, in the wilderness, off the land, and then you put a layer of small unit tactics, small unit infantry tactics, security, all the different things that go into what we do overseas, right? Like when we were dropped in Iraq, or, when some of the guys went to Afghanistan, it's how do you secure your base? How do you make sure you know what's going on in your environment? How do you communicate on a patrol, right? What do these hand and arm signals mean? What are the security priorities you must maintain so that deer that you just got, or that squirrel you got, or whatever you got, isn't just got by somebody else in a time when lawlessness will abound, And so having one skill without the other leaves quite a bit further wanting. And so when we bring these two together, this is much more of the total picture of what it's really going to take for you and your family to be able to actually survive out there in the backcountry, Yeah.
And those kind of skills are really where an individual is going to shine in an emergency. Yep. And you've been in combat zones. Yep. And I haven't been, I've been in very dangerous areas like the Afar region of Ethiopia, right? But I was not on a two-way gun range. But I'm willing to bet, just as an outsider looking in, I'm willing to bet that the best gunfighters that you worked with had exceptional soft skills. Oh. We had a ton to contribute to the briefings, to the planning, moved very well, handled themselves very well. It didn't just shine on that two-way gun range.
100%. And that's what we're going to bring to the public. So we're going to bring people that know how to survive. That's one thing that when training with you guys, it's obvious your instructors know exactly how to do it, the finesse of it, the nuances of it, the things you only get from actually doing it and living that lifestyle, which was so awesome to see. It wasn't like a PowerPoint, head knowledge thing. And then our tactical instructors, it'll be the same thing. It's guys that have done this in real life against human resistance, against other humans that know, hey, this is why we patrol this way. This is why we set up the watch list this way. This is where you want to set your observation post, your listening post up. This is why we do our satellite patrols this way. So I guess real quick for people who are, maybe new to you and your brand, why don't you give them a little background, let them know who they listening to and why you are who you are, one of the best instructors in the world when it comes to these things.
Yeah. So I kind of grew up on both coasts, started in Philadelphia in some kind of shady areas, even lived in Kensington as a kid, which is now like zombie land, right? I developed
good education.
I developed soft and hard skills there.
Yeah.
Talk to people, and I learned how to what to do when you can talk to people, right?
Yeah.
Then came out here to California, and I was working with parks, and eventually became a wildland firefighter, which was a bit of a jack of all trades. I always wanted to get as much experience as I can. And because of my fitness level, the seriousness with which I took things, my analytical capabilities, I was always put in leadership right away.
Yeah.
So I was, a squad leader my first year, which was definitely strange for people under me, but you better listen.
Right.
I've been on Type 1 hand crews, which are the frontline resources, like hotshot crews, which are the frontline initial attack for these wildfires. I've done a structural academy as well. I was largely HELITACK, which is firefighting helicopter crew. Instead of showing up in an engine or a crew buggy, we show up in a helicopter. I've been a HELITACK Rappeller, right? Because you can't always land, but you have to get out, right? Yeah. And it's funny because we say there's two ways to earn your wings. You can fly the aircraft or leave it while it's still flying, right? Yeah. So it was HELITACK Rappeller, as well as HELITACK Hoist Rescue, Swiftwater Rescue Technician, which is the swimmer, Confined Space Rescue, technical ropes rescue for high and low angle, including rescue systems one like building collapse, so could rappel out of buildings, rappel off bridges, rappel off cliffs, rappel out helicopters, all that. The fire crew squad leader, airbase radio operator, and takeoff and landing coordinator. So coordinating and forming. I formed improvised air bases for some of the biggest wildland fires at the time. Been a fireline EMT, where if anybody been the primary fireline EMT on fires with up to 2,000 people, where if anybody goes down on the first one to fly out and get them. I was on the rescue team for the first civilian space shuttle launches, the X Prizes out of Mojave. And since I started my school, I provided training to every branch of the military. With the Marine Corps, it was the Mountain Warfare Training Center, Red Hats, their primary survival and sniper instructors. Were the students. For Navy, it was primarily special warfare and their helicopter rescue. So a bunch of their EOD guys. It was for the EOD was generally leadership that was pulled together from different units, right? Yep. They could take the training back, and then their helicopter rescue over at VX-31. And with Army, we're still working with Fort Rucker there. This is our last year on that deal, the Aviation School of Excellence. So we have their guys coming out, and we're always in the mix there. And I'm also the kind of guy I've signed so many NDAs now. I have an NDA fee.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's a good idea.
Yeah. But hey, if I got to review this, if I got to maybe send this to a lawyer, bro, you got to pay me to sign this fee.
Yeah.
And they like it. Ooh, that's better. I think this guy's serious. Right. So that's just, and I'm an instructor certifier and everything from wilderness first aid to advanced bleeding control and BLS and oxygen administration and all that. So I'm really, really big still on the medical side as well. And when I say instructor certifier, I'm able to not just certify people in the task, I'm able to certify instructors. Right. As well. And that's through the American Red Cross and the American Safety and Health Institute, ASHI. So that's the skinny on this guy.
Yeah. And what would you say informed your survival skills the most? Like, where in that experience did you really glean the things that you think he's just got you in this survival training world?
So I've always been really into the outdoors. Once I got out of Philadelphia and was able to be in mountains, I thought it was like Last of the Mohicans, bro. I was like, this is incredible. I did so much stupid stuff in the mountains. Latchkey kid in our generation, you could just disappear in the morning and come back, at night,
No one cared.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I was doing this in the mountains, and I'm like climbing little rock faces and stuff. I'm doing
Yeah.
all the things that you shouldn't do. And I started being a volunteer at a local state park,
Mhm.
which was a sensitive archaeological site for the natives there. And the
Mhm.
last full-blooded member of that tribe, the Kauai he's gone now. Would actually teach us things like how to process acorns, how to tie the knots for making the shelters together, what the different plants are, right? So I became fascinated. And then when I got into technical rescue, that developed my approach. So we give you first responder style training,
Yeah.
where they're saying no one else is coming, it's up to you. So 911 calls, you call 911, 911 calls us. We got to do it now.
Yeah.
We're the guys, right? And we try and instill that in our clients, right? And I try and give that, a lot of survival training is basically like a survival themed experience, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it that you played with some gear in the woods or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That is not so. My training as a first responder in confined space, hazmat, ropes, water, all
Fire.
that helped me form my approach to the training.
Yeah.
And after a series of, you can get. So I was an idealist. You could say maybe I still am a little bit.
Yeah, me
So
too.
there's a series of things that happened. My engine crew refused to engage in fire with me and wrote me off for dead at one point, right? Uh, I got an impalement in my spine, and they sent me to a strip mall doctor that tried to charge me afterward. Right? Just a bunch of stuff happened at once, and I looked at my bank account, and I was like, "I'm almost 30. I'm going into business for myself. Like, I love this. I'll probably always volunteer. I'm going to find a way to make the world a better place." But I felt like I was spinning my wheels, not career wise. I was constantly moving up,
Yeah.
right? All kinds of, I could basically go to any crew I wanted. I had offers all over the place, right? But I decided I want to work for myself. I want to get things done my way. And I took that training approach, that outlook to the survival training, because there was no metric to follow. There was at this time in 2008, there was only a handful of schools out there.
Right.
People can, and people do. We were Survival Training School of California, right? I recently changed the name to my name, but if you look that up, you'll see another school named almost identical, and they will mimic us. And even on their Yelp, you'll see reviews referencing my instructors, and they love that, right? So they can just follow our platform, watch some YouTube videos, and say we're survival instructors, right?
Yeah.
I had to develop all my courses, all my platform from scratch. Um, so
Yeah, I had to do the same thing for my industry and what we teach. It was all just, hey, this is literally what we're doing in the field. This is what's working. And that's why I called it training day. After the movie, really, this is your training day, Officer Hoyt. Remember all that stuff you learned in the academy?
yeah,
Learn that stuff right now. This is how we really finna do it. You know what I'm saying? And that was the game, man. A lot of retired guys teaching a lot of great courses that have their place. But when it came to like straight up doing EP in the field, how we're doing it right now, I knew I had something to contribute because that's all I knew, and it's work.
yeah, definitely. And I'd rather work 80 hours a week for myself than 40 for someone else.
Right there with you, bro. You got it. Some of us just have to be on the razor's edge. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, this course, people listening to your level of expertise, right? You really really doing seminal work and pathfinding in the survival expert training space. Me being, Marine Corps veteran, I get this a lot from the civilian crowd, what I'm getting at. So I want to make sure I touch on this while we're together. Marine Corps veteran, traveling the world, 70 different countries, protection operations. They kind of look at guys like us sometimes and they're like, well, who's this course for? Like, can civilians come? Like, can I come train with you guys? I get this question all the time and I'm like, yes, please come. Please come and let us bring everything that we've learned in the world, to you, So, how would you answer that question? I have my answer. I'll go after you, but who would you say the California Grid Down Survival course is for?
It's for anybody that lives in California.
Let's
Okay,
go.
what? So I just posted some of the footage. My first fire station was 2 miles from Paradise, California. Okay, in a town called Magalia, and people have people that know they know Paradise was lost. The entire town.
It was like
Uh,
what was it like 60-mile-per-hour fires or something? I heard those fires were moving fast. I don't know.
very fast, very fast, but it wasn't just Paradise. Half of Concal, half of Magalia, a lot of surrounding communities were at 50% destruction levels. And this is, I don't like to get political,
Yeah.
but I
Sometimes.
consider myself a different kind of patriot. I'm not the patriot that is like the half of the country that doesn't agree with me sucks, and I hope I want the best for everybody in the world, right?
Yeah.
I'm a humanist, maybe a bit of a Hellenist.
Yeah.
Is the way I put it. When I lived in Paradise, there was a moment they had this thing in Chico nearby called the Parade of Lights.
Mm.
So our crew was in this long parade, and they had a fire engine in front of us, right?
Mhm.
And then we were the hand crew guys, which people then didn't. If you were on a hand crew, they didn't. Or a hot shot, they didn't think you're a real firefighter.
Like you're either SWAT or you're not. Like you're.
Yeah, I have people say, "Are you a real firefighter? Or are you one of those wildland guys?" I'm like, we just saved your whole city.
We matter.
Guys are parked around houses, hoping it doesn't get past our line, right?
Yeah.
I remember the engine went first, and people getting little claps. But as we went through the crowd with our buggy, the crowd lit up. So being a young guy that came from wherever, getting that kind of support and acknowledgement was overwhelming. That lady brought her little kid out to shake my hand, right? So I'm like, oh wow, this is like, ooh, right?
Yeah,
So
good stuff.
And they established a very, very good fire safe council. And this is back in, okay, I'm going to expose my age a little bit here. This is back in 2001. Wow. Okay, it was my first year. So they knew about all the dangers facing their community since day one. You have the bark beetle stuff, which in some places up in Big Bear, when that was almost getting evacuated every other day, they had 70% bug kill, right? I don't know if you ever seen a Christmas tree light on fire, right? But it's the same thing. These pines and these conifers will torch and explode sometimes at rates that are unbelievable. As a 60-foot pine tree can throw a 100-foot flame off the top. Now with wind and that's bent down, it's an inferno. And these people do this. There was all kinds of studies done. They knew that the evacuation routes were insufficient. That if you need a mass evacuation, people are going to get trapped on the roads. That there were recommendations made, funding given. Our government said, whatever, burn.
Real
right?
quick message. We're going to be covering evacuation routes when we cover the mobility portion of this course, just so you guys know. Anyways.
Oh yeah, I'm big on that. And like we've gone through, there is kind of a secondary freeway system that people don't really know about in California. That's all I'm going to say, because we're not putting that out there because we want it to be available when we need it. So come get the knowledge. But they knew that that area was right for what we call configuration, right? For all the right things to occur and for fire to run through. And just like Maui, the warning systems failed.
Oh.
Okay. So the people did not get the reverse 911 calls. They were not evacuating until the whole world was on fire. And you can see footage of charred elderly people in their cars, people walking down and looking at their cars and just finding nothing but charred bodies of people that did the right thing their whole life. They paid their taxes on time. They went to work every day. They cared about their family. They showed up to the fire safe council meetings, and they were abandoned by their government. And this is what people listening to this have to understand. While that town was still in the mop-up phase, while it was still smoldering, the California governor and legislator passed a law limiting the liability of PG&E.
While after the liability, that's like
while it was smoldering. While it was smoldering. Okay.
So you paid insurance your whole life, and then they just decide to pass a law saying, well, the insurance doesn't have to cover it.
Yeah. And now insurance companies are leaving California.
Yeah, they are.
And when Malibu, the entire town of Malibu was evacuated, guess what happened the next year? California cut the pay of CAL FIRE, of their state wildland firefighters.
I remember that.
Okay, so the powers that be just don't care. The legislators, there's so much, so people don't know this, but California has a much larger economy than Saudi Arabia. When you have that much money, unless you have a ridiculous vanguard, right? There's going to be massive corruption. Look at Bell, California, from the city councilman to the fire chief to the police chief. Everybody was dirty. Everybody was dirty, right? So it's up and down, and that's a fate. I'm not, I don't know how they are now. Godspeed. Maybe they got a great city council, but we remember that scandal and remember the recordings and talking and laughing about fleecing the community. And that's the approach that your government is taking when we're literally having fires that will burn the whole world down. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, because that's Malibu.
Yeah.
Because that's Malibu, right? So you have to understand it is in your hands. It is 100% in your hands. It doesn't matter if you've ever been able to do a push-up, if you held a gun in your life, right? But when things happen, there's a good chance that no one's coming. And if they are, so when you have a thing like the fire in Paradise, how many people can they save? You have tens of thousands of people that need help. How many can the handful of firefighters that are stationed there save? Right? And there's a brain drain in those low-paying firemen. The best in CAL FIRE, the best in Forest Service will go to Malibu places, go to Malibu City, go to LA County, where they can get paid well for what they do. I'm going to say it right now. My first captain at CAL FIRE was absolute dog shit. We would be staffed like you're not allowed to leave the station. They say special staffing. You get paid 24 hours a day. He would go. He'd fucking go home. He would go home and leave us there. And then sometimes we get a fire in the middle of the night, not show up, or show up 6 hours after the call. And guess when the fire in Paradise started? In the middle of the night.
Of course,
right?
Satan.
Yeah, right. So even with first responders, and I'm sure you're going to test this with military units. Excellence is unit specific.
100%.
Excellence is unit specific. So you don't know what your adjacent unit is. So when I was with Kern County, my fire crew 87 in Isabella you want those guys responding. Their captain was the best captain I've ever worked with in my life. The only captain I had outrun, out hike, out push up, out pull.
And it probably came down through the ranks, that level of excellence.
So my HELITACK there, the helicopter there now is exceptional. I've worked with them. I arranged the first training between them and the adjacent naval rescue helicopter. But when I was there, the leadership was absolutely terrible. And you don't want them coming to save your house. And he would hire all chief's kids to shore up his career.
Of course.
Right. And I'm 40 now. Come at me. I don't care. I'll talk about this stuff. It's more important for me to preserve the safety and security of my community than these assholes like heroes. Sorry.
No, I'm right there with you. I love it. No, this is good stuff to know. What would you say? So like in these situations, and in these situations, as someone's listening to this and looking out at the spectrum of reality, how relevant is a grid down scenario?
Oh, it's constantly going on in California. It's constantly going on. So, it's not just the fires, right? So I don't know if last year, Diablo Canyon, the PG&E again, nuclear reactor that was shut down outside of Los Ojos in the central California started leaking, and they're hush hush about putting out reports. The Bell Fire. So when Malibu was burning and all that, and the Bell Fire hit in LA. So people don't know there was a nuclear test area. There's actually a bunch of uncleaned up nuclear waste all over LA from to have a reactor there. And there was some tests and there was a test area in Bell, California that the fire went through, and almost certainly through radiation fallout up into the air with smoke, right? Wow. So then there's all the landslides, right? So these fires, lead to landslides. So you can Google this stuff and find it, but it's not going to be on mainstream CNN,
Right.
NBC is not going to talk about that stuff because we know how that works, right?
Yeah.
Once the fires come, then the landslides come through. So if you live in Big Bear, if you live in any of those surrounding communities, you've been evacuated a bunch of times. If you live in the suburbs of LA, you've almost even Tahunga, Malibu, all that, you've been evacuated. You've seen it hit. Okay, and all the way through the Bay Area, NorCal. And now the rail system is so decayed that we're getting more and more of these derailments, like in Ohio, right, where that toxic gas cloud. And I tell people, I warn people in my urban disaster, when it's a major event like that, they always under evacuate to avoid liability. And what are we finding now? They should have evacuated people in farther areas. They allowed exposures that unnecessary, right? And it seems like every other day there's a refinery, a chemical plant explosion in Texas now, where they're also under evacuating the surrounding community, right? So with hate to get political, but with regulatory capture, right? With the fox running the hen house, corners are cut, and then when the inevitable happens, when Murphy shows up to work, right, things go boom.
No, I mean, digging into this thing, I mean, we saw what happened in Texas when the lights went out down there. We've seen what has happened in multiple states when there have been floods, hurricanes, all the different things that can happen at any point in time. This is a reality that many of us unfortunately have already had to face, and that can happen at any time. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to put this together. And there are a number of things that can make having to roll out like this super, super relevant. Okay.
But here's the thing. All of these incidents we're talking about, Paradise, Maui, the landslides, all that.
This blackouts.
There are people in those fields. There are smart people in those fields that send warnings. Hey, this is going to happen.
Yep.
This is going to happen. Okay. But they get ignored.
Yeah.
Okay. And so with wildfires in California and the federal lands, they refuse to fund the brush removal and all that. But once an incident hits and it's an emergency, they give it that blessing, right? Emergency. Right. Now there's super funds. So super funds are a bottomless pit of money, but it's responding after the fact. And our government can consistently respond after the fact. They say every OSHA rule was written in blood, right? And you don't
to be your
blood. Remember that. Take it into their own hands.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And then, we all got the notifications. What was it, last year, the year before? You should use less power because the California power grid's under a lot of stress right now. But we're going to electrical cars. But anyways, we should, this is the reality that we live in.
And did you know if you have solar, you are not allowed to charge your battery packs for your house fully, and you have to stay attached to the grid? You're not allowed to charge your batteries, I believe, above 65%, and you are not allowed to disconnect from the grid. It has to be connected to the grid.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose of having solar?
Yeah, it is a what was that Romanian dictator's
making me want to cuss, man. I'm telling you, I don't.
Soviet style power grabs.
Bro, you gotta be kidding me. That's like saying you can't grow. It's like saying we're gonna tax your vegetables. If you grow vegetables in your own garden, you still gotta get 40% of your vegetables because you're in
giving a free lunches communism. No, don't worry about the free lunches. You need to worry about stuff like this, where they won't let you get away. They say, "Oh, we need that tax money."
You got to be kidding me. All right. So the course is going to start off with mobility training, right? One of the things that I love about what we put together here is it's going to be immersive. You're going to be in character. You're going to be having this whole experience while you learn. So boom, everyone gets a notification. The emergency has happened. We need to meet up at the location. That's where we're going to start the training. The first day of training is going to be all about mobility, right? Motorcade operations, how to off-road, how to put your vehicle in four-wheel drive. Can you get to a location away from the public with your vehicle, right? Which is going to inform a lot about what you're going to be doing at base camp. Because the reality is our vehicles are awesome, but do we know how to use them? How often do we get to use them? What do you want to put in your vehicle? So that's kind of where this whole thing is going to start. You and your family, you probably have multiple vehicles, right? The beginning of the course is going to be around bugging out, right? What are you going to bring with you? We're going to give you a gear list. You're going to put together your bug out bag. You should always have a bug out bag, and that level of education is going to inform how you evacuate. What would you say about bug out bags?
So the thing about packing a bug out bag is you don't want to what if yourself to death. You want to pack for what is likely to happen. And in any grid down scenario that you're going to see the essential services that the total grid delivers. And we break it down into 8 needs: potable water, a microclimate, emergency medical care, power, hygiene, communication, security, and food. And right away when the lights shut out, when you know you hear your right of bang, right, to quote that incredible manual, right, you will see that those 8 things are wildly important. So that's what you're going to pack, right? And you have to make it all mobile, and it has to be so portability, right? We need the most bang for our buck. If anything is dual use, right? We need things to be tough as well, since they're going to be portable. It can't be too sensitive, getting jostled around or anything like that, right? So the way to pack those 8 things and to make them fit in a bag or a crate. So I use wheeled crates for my bug out for a vehicle.
Yeah.
I bring, you know, with these brownouts and all that, I have a very large battery system that I large for a battery, but not that big. But a battery this big is like 100 pounds, right? So I use wheeled crates that we can, and I, you know, I can establish my own communications grid. As far as security goes, you know, we have everything that goes boom, pow, bang, and zzz, right, from tasers to ARs, right? And I have bear spray, and I have my flashbang trainers for the SEER course and all that.
Right.
So we have all that stuff for security. As far as food goes, you know, those MRE main courses and the dehydrated meals. I have water purifiers that are good for urban situations, which wilderness water filters cannot be used in urban situations. I have the ability to distill. You know, the vehicle itself is a microclimate, but I have compact 4-season tents, you know, that'll stand up to 80-mile-an-hour winds, what have you, you know, and I have the capability to construct very solid shelter in the field as well. I've formed emergency camps, incident command posts in the field, you know, and I know how to teach other people to do it and how to pack for it. You know, as firefighters, we had a 14-day bag we call red bag that we had to have in the vehicle anytime, because we could be driving down the street and, you know, we're in the back of the crew buggy or we're sitting in the engine and we get a call and they're like, hey, we're going to Arizona. And there's no stopping at home or wait, we got to pick this or that up. You know, if it's not at a truck stop on the way, you're not getting it. Yeah. Right. So I've literally had to bug out right a million times.
Yeah,
a million times.
Man, that's invaluable. So the bugging out module is going to be real world. It's going to be total. So I'm stoked about that, because that's a big question everyone's trying to figure out, you know. And without the experience, how do you inform that effectively? And YouTube's not good enough. You ever try to put an IKEA furniture together off YouTube? Anyway, you probably won't have YouTube. Anyways, let's
imagine the furniture is bleeding. No.
Yeah, come on. Motorcade operations. Super relevant. How do you move yourself, your family, anyone you want to link up with, your link up points? And then can you put your vehicle in 4-wheel drive? Do you know what to do? Can you get unstuck? You know, can you know, and so that's going to be the second phase of training. We're going to spend a part of a day just working on motorcades out there in the wilderness.
And we both rolled in strike teams, I am sure. You know, we have that overlapping terminology because the wildland fire system was started by World War II vets. Yeah. So with us, everything is initial attack, HELITACK, extended attack, strike team, things like that. So I'm sure we both rolled in strike teams. We've seen had many levels of different vehicle and convoy ops. You see the good drivers, the bad drivers, people that are good and bad on the radio, the people that don't help you change lanes, the people that do. Yeah. Right. So we know these things, right? And we know, you know, if you're in a convoy and some dude, I'm not trying to just swoops, you know, get between your vehicles, you know, with you guys, it's on, right? Yeah, 100%. But with us, it still disrupts the operation. We got to find a way to get him out without firing. right?
100%. 100%. And that's the private security world as well, man. And so how do you do that, fluidly? And how do you throw blocks and make sure people don't get in there? And if they do, how do you get them out of there? It's a big little chess game with cars. And then getting into the base camp, man, this is where you're going to live, and let's see, we have efficient base camp setup, social structures and roles, security and shelter, waste management, site selection, establishing domiciles, camp comms, right? So these are the different bullet points we're going to hit for setting up your base camp.
So people were used to, like if you got deployed, you show up at a base. There's already a base there, right? We're obviously a lot of times we're used to the communication system, everything being set up. How do you build that from the ground up? What do you do if you? So here's the hard part to all this: you are the command and control now, right?
Yeah.
How do you make everything work when you are the command and control? And that does require nuance. There's an old saying, it's actually like Lao Tzu, old Chinese saying, right? But I like it. They say when a leader has done his job properly, the people think that they have done everything by their own accord.
Yep. They think it's an idea.
Yeah. So how do you take a problematic guy or a guy that's not that useful? How do you make him think, it was his idea to do this, so now he's stoked about it, enthusiastic? How do you help people not be terrified? How do you help your children not be terrified? How do you help them? One of the best ways really is to turn them into little workers. Hey, this is your job now. Don't just, oh, it's okay. Because you can say it's okay all you want, but they know if you're afraid, right? But you give someone a job. And when we're talking about remote medical care, if you're ever alone with a patient, you always incorporate them in their own rescue, in their own care. It is wildly good for the mindset there. So things like that, giving most frightened people a job to take their mind off things, even if it's an inconsequential job, right? And how to spot a good site and how to build upon it. What makes it a good site? Are you able to observe people incoming and outgoing from the site so if there's danger, right? Are you able to communicate there? Are you in too tight of a canyon where repeaters, you have no line of sight on anything, right? Is it secure? Is this an area where you may have to deal with unfriendly locals? Because if you've ever lived in the middle of the country, there is plenty of that, right? So these site selections, command and control, waste, people think you just dig a hole and go. Well, how many of those are you going to dig around your camp before it starts to get disgusting and you spread disease, right? Because that happens right away in these emergencies and in these emergency scenarios, right? When you look at places like Haiti and all this stuff, right? That kind of thing, camp cough, infections, United States, wherever, first world, second world, third world, infections are a huge issue in disaster zones.
We got
right.
So in the Marine Corps, wrecked by an infection. We had to stop combat operations until we could fight it off.
See, exactly. We used to call it the camp flood.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, man. And it was a bloodbath. I remember watching guys throwing up, crapping on themselves, and we all got stopped, man. We were combat ineffective for 24 hours. Camp comms. What would you say about camp comms?
Yeah, so exactly. So you have to be able to talk to everybody, right? That's an important part of command and control. In an emergency, in a disaster, things are constantly moving. They're constantly evolving. So you have to stay fluid, and direct, clear, concise communications is very important. And you have to separate your channels. You have to have a proper radio that can scan more than one channel. You need a command channel. You need a logistics channel. You might need an operations channel. So what we're doing with the tactical stuff, you're going to have to separate command from operations from camp. Right. So when the guys that are walking around patrolling everything, making everything safe, they need their own channel that will not be stepped on by the people working in the camp. You need a command channel that everybody can hear no matter what, that's on priority. So when whoever's in charge, whoever's just in charge of just distributing the information, right, that when they hit send, everybody gets, and we're not stepping on each other's traffic. So that separation of channels is a huge thing. And a lot of people don't know, you can set up a repeater the size of a mic stand that'll incorporate several square mile area, you know, a telescoping repeater that you can carry in a backpack. You know, we used to assemble them. So as a HELITACK guy or a jack of all trades, we'd fly out there with a little solar panel, a battery, a repeater, set it all up, and boom, we got comms whether or not Verizon or AT&T is there.
Is there? That's
right. So
yeah, no, it's just good stuff. And then getting into, let's see, security, small unit tactics, right? So, you know, leaning into setting and maintaining security. The second you get there, getting that 24-hour watch, getting those sentries up so everyone can work in safety. Satellite patrols, observation posts, listening posts, knowing who's around, patrolling in such a way that it informs you on the area. And also that if there are any other units there are times when you want to be seen. There are times when you do not want to be seen. There are times when you want to let everyone know, you know, hey, don't come over here, and how you make those contacts. And when you do those feints, right? Reconnaissance strategies, understanding who's around without them knowing, and being able to judge the size of their force and potency of their force. 24-hour security operations, setting up that fire watch, making sure that there's always someone watching so that your women and children can be safe. Security considerations during travel, that's also something that we're going to cover. And then internal and external security considerations, how to deal with rowdy inhabitants and also rowdy external individuals who may come to your camp.
And people have to understand, patrol operations like this in the contiguous United States, that is wild. That is wild. And you can't just brute force and ignorance your way through that, because it's going to go bad. That emergency will eventually be over.
Yep.
Right. And I don't want to be judged by 12 or carried by 6.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. Right. So people have to understand that very low ready, as soon as you see a guy hand up, right? How to you're not threatening right away if the circumstances demands, right? So you don't you don't have someone scared that brings force upon you, that now you're what do you guys call it? Blue on blue? Yep,
exactly.
So we don't want that with other guys that are just out there trying to take care of their family like us, right? So if you're using this hyper aggressive patrol in an area that don't, and you know, we don't have necessarily authority out there, right? So if we're ordering people to get down on site and things like that, we don't know what they have, and that could provoke a response, right? Because if I'm out there in the woods bugging out and someone points a rifle at my wife or my kids,
it's complicated.
It's real complicated, right? So you're gonna have to learn how to deal with this in a situation like this, where you don't make yourself a target for other people or law enforcement, for that matter. And what do you do if you encounter law enforcement? How do you carry legally in these situations? Because California doesn't have open carry; it's illegal. The Forest Service is federal land, national parks, all that. It is legal, right? But you have to carry in a manner what they call a safe carry that's not provocative, right? So you can carry, but it can't be necessarily brandishing, right? So you have to know when it's shouldered, when you're low ready, or when you're in a position where you may have to fire, right? You have to. This is not LARPing.
This is not LARPing.
So we want to train you for the real thing. So being able to have that behavioral approach is very, very, very important.
Very important. Absolutely. And then just all the patrolling procedures. How do you patrol? What's your dispersion? What are your hand and arm signals looking like? How do you move? Why do you move? What do you do when you approach a vehicle? If you see a vehicle on the road, what's the whole chain of communication and movement when it comes to patrolling, and when it comes to setting base camp security and maintaining that? So these are just some of the things we're going to talk on. And then also, of course, it's all going to be integrated with wilderness survival, right? A little water purification, fire building, shuttle, shelter construction, foraging, hunting for food. Oh, I'm excited about this. We're going to process some animals out there, maybe whatever you find. We're going to bring some things for you to understand proper processing of animals, identifying edible plants, dealing with animal bites and things of that nature. So that's pretty total in surviving out here.
Yeah, we're going to put up a legit, we would call it an incident command post or field post. But you guys forward observation base or forward base.
Right?
This is, these skill sets overlap incredibly, right?
Yes.
Overlap incredibly because wildland fire borrowed so much from the military terminology and tactics. So the fire starts right now, right?
Right.
So we have to be able to expand air bases. We have to be able to expand incident command posts, expand hygiene needs, food needs, all that. We need flexible camps to meet our needs. And I've been lucky enough to be able to set them up from scratch, right? With HELITACK, your first one there, right? Because we can get there in a helicopter a lot quicker than you can in a giant fire engine, right? So being able to do that and learn from your guys who have been through Afghanistan, have been through Iraq, and who knows, whatever, right?
Right.
Who have worked these patrols in areas where they're supposed to be friendly, right? And have to have to go between command and camp and the people on the road, how to identify threatening versus non-threatening approaches. So having your team of experts there who have done that in war and on the personal security side.
Yeah.
Right. Having those two together with those patrols and that kind of command and control is going to be invaluable to the standard civilian, right? To your everyday Joe. You're not really going to be able to get this kind of training without committing to like a job in executive protection or a job in the military or a job as a first responder, right? So we're taking the best of this and giving it to everybody, because I think the more effective we make the general populace, the better the community is going to be. A rising tide raises all ships, and I want them to be battleships and destroyers.
Yeah, no, and I'm right there with you, man. And that was really a lot of the motivation for this. I'm seeing all these different things on the news. I'm seeing that Homeland Security is talking about EMPs and social unrest and what to do in all these crazy situations. And federal agencies are practicing for this right now. So why aren't,
CDC put out a zombie apocalypse guide before COVID.
Yeah,
and
really did.
I don't mean to give away any secrets here, but when people, they built the whole zombie genre of movies, but zombie amongst us of those in the know and the prepared, that was code for just everyday people.
Yep.
Untrained masses that are going, and they're not walking on brains, they're like food, water, help, right? And they're desperate and may eventually do desperate things. Right. So zombie was code for that. You can't tell me these CDC experts and stuff didn't know that.
100%.
When they put it out, right? That's a little hint, right? And every organization every organization, AARP has a bug out bag page.
Yep.
Right. So everybody knows now. Everybody knows, and disasters are on the increase. Right. Our response is not getting better. Right. So people are starting to realize it's up to us. And, the proper training of the citizenry is a force multiplier.
100%. I love it, man. So pre-planning, bugging out, mobility, setting up your base camp, small unit operations, security, command and control, all of these things you're going to get in this course from some of the best in the world, really. And so it's such an honor to be able to bring this to you guys. I'm super stoked. By the time you're watching this, I'm telling you, we max out at 30 slots. So by the time you guys are watching this, we're going to have a few slots left, I would assume, if any. So going ahead, jump on it. We look forward to training with you guys. Closing questions I got to hit you with. What is the hardest lesson that you've learned in the field, in the real world, when it comes to survival?
That saying, no one's coming, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I was on the Esperanza fire, where an entire engine crew had just been wiped out before we got there.
Wow.
And our engine was at the time a state-of-the-art 4-wheel drive, right? All-wheel drive engine. There was only 4 in existence. I think at the time we could have a full 500-gallon tank and be on like a 40-degree angle and not tip.
Wow.
So we got a specialized assignment. The head was throwing embers out. So the fire column, they can carry embers for miles. They were throwing them out, and it was landing in light and flashes in this neighborhood that was hard to get to.
Okay.
So our engine was put there because we can get through the sand, all that stuff. So if these spot fires hit, we may be the only thing that saves this neighborhood.
Okay.
Right. And we had an engineer on that one that was a Chiefs kid that was literally afraid of fire. Right. So
bro.
yeah, it's a big problem, right? So, I had to watch a house burn down because of them on another fire where we should have been right there. And I refused. After that, I said, never let it happen again. I don't care if I'm going alone. So we got the call for a spot fire and saw it ripping through the light and flashes up the hill. And I knew, and my heart sank a little bit. I knew it was going to happen. And the engineer refused to engage. The captain, which was normally a good captain, tried to be our lookout. It was a really weird decision. He tried to get on top of this hill to look out for us, but there was no line of sight from that hill. We lost his comms as well. Right. So I see that she doesn't want to engage, and she's trying to give a size up that makes it sound scarier than it is. And I'm yelling over the radio, no, we can get in there. Like, right. And when I see she makes a decision not to go, we had a helmet rack. I just popped the helmet. I jumped out and I grabbed a hand tool. Right. Okay. I'm just going to fight this with a hand tool. So it was lighting flashes with a pretty good road. So if it did run at me, I could deploy a fire shelter and be okay in 2-3 minutes. Normally don't want to have to do that, but if need be, I wasn't that much danger. So I approached on foot. And because it was so important to put that out, all the aircraft, the helicopters that were dropping on the main divisions of the fire were diverted to that. Wow. So every 3 seconds I had a drop. And the thing is that water hits it. Now it's all smoldering. It'll flash right back up if you don't put a line. Okay. So I tied in that road I hiked in, and every drop but you have to back out on these drops because you have hundreds of gallons of water coming down from the sky. Yeah. As soon as the drop hits, you run in. I started putting check line on it. Next drop is coming in, back up, hits, put a check line on it. And the engine refused to engage. Now, the chief from our local district that had what we call squirrel channel, that heard everything going on. And as I'm doing this, I heard, like, if you're an old truck, like going down a dirt road at speed, just right? Power slid around our engine. Okay. And then said, hey, and radioed them and said, hey, are you going to come? Right? Because she said the engine couldn't get through the sand or whatever. I'm like, this is the most state-of-the-art all-wheel drive engine in the world. Super, right? So now that her job's on the line, all of a sudden she could drive up, right? Okay. Yeah, and she starts to engage, drags the hose through the burn area and, burns out the hose. Like, what do you do, right? So the chief left me in charge. He said, we're all following you, right? Yeah. And so at the end of the day, there's our after action review, right? So the other firefighters in the engine, they weren't idealists like me, right? Or with a death wish, right? So, but they told me, they say, hey, we're really sorry that we didn't come and back you up, but so-and-so said that you were dead, that you were going to die, and that we're not going to, she didn't want to lose you guys too, right? And the thing is, if I can get there and safely put check line on it with a hand tool, we could have done a lot more with that engine, right? And I just couldn't stand to watch another house burn down unnecessarily. I didn't have it in me. Yeah. So that's when I learned, even if you're on a team, sometimes no one's coming. It's up to you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's a leader. Man. Doesn't matter what rank, what position you're in. That's a real leader, man. I got a whole Iraq story about that too, man. And I completely understand. Long story short, we were taking sniper fire, and I had a moment where I had to get my guys off the street, and I remember saying, we got to get in this house, and I was the squad leader, and I should have been able to tell them what to do, but I looked over, and everyone was just staring at me. And I was like, we're going to die if we don't get off this street. We have to get in this house. We're going to die. And everyone just continued staring at me. And I remembered this moment where I just was like, if I go in, I can't, I'm the brain of this squad, man. I got 3 teams here. And my 3 fire teams, if I'm gone, look at them. They're already staring at me. They already don't know it. And I remember thinking, like, if I get smoked picking in this door all by myself, they're done. And I remember thinking to myself, like, but they're just staring at me and I have to do something. And I guess
I just need to go. And I get up and I run across that yard and I go for that. And I remember being like, get over here. And I'm like, I'm going by myself. If you guys aren't coming, we're going to take casualties. We're going to get bogged down. We're going to lose mobility. We're going to get pinned down here. And then finally I run up, I hit the door opens up, boom, I go in. I would have for sure been dead. Like it was like that. I think it's the Hercules movie with the guy with the death wish when he's just like trying to die.
Yeah, the arrows just landing. Yeah.
Literally, it was that moment. And I was just like, I kicked the door. I was like, Father, you're coming with, I mean, I know you're with me. And then I just hit and by the grace of God, it was a hallway with 3 doors, door. If anyone was in the building, I was done training. That was it. Byron died. And fortunately, no one was in the building, and that was what they needed to get up and get in gear. But the reality was, if I didn't move, then they would have started getting banged up out there, and then I had bigger problems to solve. And so I've seen the same thing, man. And we're here for a reason.
Favors the bold. Fortune favors the brave.
Yep, 100%, man. We're here for a reason.
Flying a lot of trees, isn't it? Especially in those incidents, to see people, it's terrifying to see people frozen, especially 100%. In those incidents, kind of absolutely terrifying. Like, oh, wow, it is. It's paradigm shifting.
Yep, done. And I will punch you in the face and throw you in the house and get you back in movement. I will do whatever I've done it. I've done it. I ain't gonna let you die out here. Let's go. Good stuff. What would you say? Last question. Proudest moment that you've had?
Oh man, probably I would say when I got that letter from the Mountain Warfare Training Center. I was still broke as shit, brother. I went from when I started the business, I was a 28-year-old firefighter with 110 grand in the bank, right? The housing market just collapsed. I was like, I'm not buying a house, I'm starting a business. Stupid, right? I bought a house, 3 houses and watch them explode, right? Yeah. But I was struggling, and I remember getting that call from the Marine Corps, which was terrifying. Like, hey, is this Thomas Coyne? Yeah, am I speaking to Thomas Coyne? Yes, you are. Yeah, this is Colonel so and so from the United States Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center. I was like, holy, I go white, right? Yeah. And the whole 10 days I was training those instructors. I had to make a bow drill fire in the rain when I first got there. I had to show
that's a miracle.
And catch wild game. I just, so much, right? And I was terrified the whole time.
Yeah,
terrified because about the reputation of the Mountain Warfare Training Center, right? And especially the guys that run it.
I had to train there, bro. It was like worse than a deployment almost, eh? It was hard. They're hardcore. This is some of the hardest things.
Man. Highly skilled men.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I'm total imposter syndrome, scared to death, the whole 10 days, right? After they see what I can do, they start treating me like one of their own, though. They're giving me compliments and stuff, which those guys don't really do.
Yeah, right? You demonstrate value, man. It's masculine currency,
And I remember 3 weeks later, the first one got lost in the mail. So it was almost 5 weeks, actually. They were like, did you get the letter? I was like, what letter? They're like, son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. They sent it again. And reading that letter, I just about teared up. I had never really been acknowledged in that way before. I had never had people talk about me that way to me before. And that letter changed the trajectory that the school was on. Once people read that letter, I started getting much more business. I started getting weird calls too, like people wanting to learn RPGs and grenades and all this stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what we did. We were just playing with sticks and stuff, right? But yeah, that reading that letter is probably, especially being written by a commanding officer of a place like that. To this day, it's probably the most pride I've felt at any single moment.
Wow. That's meaningful. The whole thing's meaningful. Getting the letter's awesome. And then just having it have that much value and meaning, that's huge, man.
Yeah. Because, when I, maybe I saved that neighborhood that day on that spot fire, right? But I was still given shit for going without any help, right?
Yeah.
So Right? No one was like, wow, that was incredibly brave. It was like, yeah, who the fuck do you think you are, right?
100%. Don't you know how stupid that was?
Yeah,
For
exactly,
social
right?
things, the people that were
So
scared
that
to
was
kill nothing to justify it. Anyways.
yeah, exactly. So that was a huge deal for me. That was a huge, and I have it on my wall to this day.
That's awesome, man.
I work with those guys quite a bit. A lot of them now don't know it, but some of the stuff that they do for their instructor graduation, the big survival hike that they do, I was the one that gave them that with some of their with their instructors at the time. So I was able to have a serious impact. They said they went from a 90% drop rate on the class before mine to, or no, it's 50% drop rate to 90% pass rate.
Wow.
After on the summer survival exercise. So that having an impact at an organization like that, I was beaming with pride for like a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. And then I lied. Last question. At the end of the day, what's it all for, man? How do you want to be remembered? What's it all for when on your tombstone? How do you want them to remember you?
Geez, just being remembered, it all be nice, man. We don't get that.
Yeah.
Right? We don't get that. Once your grandkids are dead, you're gone, right? They say a man has two deaths: when they first die and once their name is never spoken again.
Yep,
Right?
I love that one.
So if they speak it at all, if I'm remembered for helping in any way, I'm fine with that. I care about money, having someone that's been, I've been super broke. So I very much value money for mobility and freedom and the capabilities. I care less about a watch or, whatever. Right. I care about being able to travel someplace beautiful, being able to provide for my loved ones when they need help.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But having served, having made the world in any way better for being here, that if I can have that flash before my eyes before I go, I don't care what comes after.
Let's go, man. I love it. Good stuff, man. Woo, that made me want to clap. Man. Thomas Coyne, ladies and gentlemen. California Grid Down Survival Training's coming for you guys. If you guys haven't found his website, give him the website one more time. The website's
CaliforniaSurvivalTraining.com, and you can spell it all out, or you can just abbreviate it CASurvivalTraining.com, Charlie Alpha Survivaltraining.com. Look for my name on there because we have a lot of people trying to capture our traffic with similar websites and similar things like that. So look for my name on the website, all the military letters, and you will be in the right place.
Outstanding. It's an honor, man. I'm looking forward to this California Grid Down Survival Training. You guys look beneath this video for dates and where you can sign up. And we look forward to serving and supporting you guys. Thank you so much, man. It's an honor.
Thank you for putting this together. Very good idea. And we'll help a lot of people with this.
Heck yeah. No, I know it. Boom.
Boom. When it comes to the technology you use to protect your home, there's nothing better than Deep Sentinel. AI-driven, human-monitored technology that will keep you and your family safe for the same price you're paying for whatever Ring doorbell system you have. Check out Deep Sentinel. It's such an honor to join forces with these guys. They should be in every single house in the world. Get real-time Overwatch for you and your loved one. And for 10% off, depending on when you're watching this, don't forget to use code Byron at checkout. Boom! Quick shout out to our sponsor, Staccato. My first pistol sponsor. I've been sponsored by a lot of companies, right, over the years. But when it comes to pistol, that's my bread and butter. Pistol is something I believe in. I'm a competitive shooter. We're shooting anywhere from, 800 rounds a month type of thing, right? So Staccato, being what I believe, is one of, if not the most complete handguns you can put in your hand. It's got every component that a handgun could have, should have. They're actually extremely dependable now that they've made some changes, and these things are straight up tack drivers. If you're looking for a pistol that will do as much of the work for you as a piece of hardware can, obviously you have to have the marksmanship and all the different things, but different guns perform at different levels. And I want to say that Staccato is one of, by far, for sure, take it from a competitive shooter, we're shooting the highest volumes of rounds constantly right now. Not used to have a background guy, but like right now, when you go shoot, you're going to see certain brands. Staccato is one of, if not the highest performing
firearm that is both CCW, duty ready, and also competitive ready. So I want to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for a good handgun to build your skills on top of, go check out Staccato. Much love and respect.
Yo, if you enjoyed that episode and you like learning things like that, I want to encourage you to go to Protector Nation, build a profile, get in the Civilian Protector Project. This is where you can learn from these guys, live Zoom calls. You can see the full modules that you just watched, and you can become part of a community. It's the first social media platform for protectors where we can get to know each other, we can network, we can learn together. We do live Zoom calls with different SMEs every single month. There's so much packed in there. I'm in there. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Looking forward to working together to make the world a safer place by helping good people to become more willing, capable, and prepared. Protector Nation, Civilian Protector Project, let's go.